Have you ever felt that the person you want the most slowly starts taking you lightly? You're standing right in front of them, yet their eyes are always somewhere else. You try harder, but your importance keeps decreasing. And the most painful moment is when you realize that your presence no longer makes any difference to them. This pain doesn't scream. There's no shouting, no fights. One day you simply notice that the other person has changed. They talk less, they ask less, they react less, and quietly you start breaking from the inside. You ask yourself, what mistake did I make? I loved honestly, so why did this happen? I never ignored them, so why do I feel invisible now? And this is where a dangerous game begins. You start trying to prove yourself, and the more you try to prove your worth, the more the other person pulls away. Because the truth is, attraction is not created by effort. Attraction is created by fear. The fear of losing you, the fear of being replaced. And that fear is the root of jealousy. But understand this clearly. This is not about cheap tricks. No fake ignoring, no mind games. These are deep psychological patterns the human mind reacts to unconsciously. And when the mind reacts, jealousy is born automatically. But remember this, jealousy works only when you are strong. A weak person trying to create jealousy becomes a clown. A strong person creates jealousy without trying. Let me tell you a scene. There was a guy, not extremely handsome, not very rich, but one thing was different. He was complete within himself. He talked to the girl, he laughed with her, but he didn't cling. He replied, but not instantly. He cared, but with control, and that confused her. She started wondering, does he like me or not? And the human mind becomes obsessed with what it cannot fully understand. This is the first truth most people miss. Jealousy doesn't come from love. Jealousy comes from uncertainty. When the other person is unclear about their position in your life, their mind becomes restless, and restlessness turns into jealousy. But don't make this mistake. Don't become cold. Cold is easy. Mysterious is difficult. A cold person feels boring. A mysterious person feels dangerous. And humans are always attracted to what feels dangerous. Now listen carefully. The first dark rule of jealousy is not showing another person. The first rule is this: build your life so full that no one gets to be the center of it. When you make someone the center, you turn yourself into a side character, and no one feels jealous of a side character. People think jealousy appears when you talk to someone else, but real jealousy appears when they see that you're happy even without anyone. Not fake happiness, real happiness, because your life has direction. Their mind asks, if this person is stable without me, do they even need me? And the moment that question appears, the seed of jealousy is planted. Now imagine another scene. You're sitting somewhere, not lost in your phone, just calm, relaxed, unbothered. They look at you and think, why is this person so peaceful? Remember, a calm person disturbs the mind the most because calmness signals control, and control is the strongest sign of high value. Understand this clearly. Jealousy doesn't come from words, it comes from energy. What you say matters less. How you exist matters more. Now the third truth. People believe jealousy appears when you're seen with someone else. That's only half true. If you're low value, being seen with someone else makes you look cheap. If you're high value, even being alone creates jealousy, because a high value person's loneliness signals choice. Choice means power, and the fear of losing power is jealousy. Think about this. If you're always available, replying instantly, answering every call, where is the fear of losing you? Fear exists only where possibility exists. The possibility that you might move on. The possibility that you might choose someone else. The possibility that you are not replaceable. Here's a harsh truth. The person who never feels jealous doesn't take you seriously. The person who feels jealous is emotionally invested. But that doesn't mean you abuse jealousy. Abuse kills attraction. Balance grows attraction. Now listen to this emotional truth. If you're in pain right now, if you feel ignored, if you feel like you're no longer a priority, don't blame yourself. You didn't love wrong. You just made yourself small in the wrong place. In this series, I'll show you how to remove yourself from the center and become the king. How jealousy is created without saying a word. How the other person starts comparing themselves. And how you move from being chased to being chosen. This is only the beginning. You've only seen the door to jealousy. The real game is still inside. If you're listening till here, it means you're ready. Ready to take yourself back. Ready to take control. Ready to make them realize they took you lightly. In the next part, we'll talk about the psychological switch that makes someone miss your presence without you doing anything. Because here's something very few people understand. A person misses you only when their mental routine breaks. If you're the same every day, always available, always predictable, your value slowly turns into background noise. Missing someone is not an emotional reaction. Missing someone is a psychological gap. And that gap is created when someone is used to your presence and suddenly their certainty breaks. But don't make this mistake. Don't disappear suddenly. No messages, no replies, total vanishing. This doesn't work for weak people, because absence has weight only when presence had value. If your presence never was heavy, your absence will never be felt. So the second dark rule of jealousy is create presence first, then unpredictability. Presence doesn't mean being available 24/7. Presence means that when you are there, you are felt. You speak less but with clarity. You observe more than you react. You don't agree with everything. And this creates friction in the other person's mind. Friction is where attraction begins. Now imagine this scene. They say something you don't like. Earlier, you adjusted. Now you stay calm. You don't argue. You don't explain. You just say, "All right," and the conversation moves on. Their mind asks, why didn't they react? Remember, emotional reactions signal loss of control, and a person without control cannot create jealousy. Now, the third psychological shift. People think jealousy appears when attention goes to someone else. In reality, jealousy appears when the source of attention becomes unpredictable. If your attention works like a switch, sometimes fully on, sometimes off, the other person feels mentally unstable, and instability gives birth to obsession. But this switch must be natural, not planned, not forced. You are busy. You live it, you don't show it. When your life has real focus, replies get late, calls get missed, presence becomes limited, and this natural limitation creates jealousy. Here's a brutal truth. A person without direction makes the relationship their entire direction, and when the relationship becomes your whole world, the other person starts taking you lightly. Jealousy comes from people with direction. Now, understand this subtle move. When they ask, "What are you doing?" don't give long explanations. Don't dramatize. Just say, "Something important." The word important creates value because important things are limited. Unlimited things have no value. Now, a deeper point. Jealousy is born from comparison. But comparison only happens when the other person feels insecure, and insecurity appears when you look stable, not superior. Superiority triggers ego, stability triggers fear, and fear is far more powerful. When they see that your mood doesn't change based on their behavior, when you're happy whether they give attention or not, their mind asks, "Do I really control this person?" And the moment that question appears, they try to regain control. That is jealousy in action. Now understand this mistake. If they create distance, don't rush to fill the gap. The one who fills the gap is below. The one who creates the gap is above. If they go silent, stay peaceful. Silence creates fear. Noise does not. The goal of jealousy is not to make them cry. The goal is to make them afraid of losing you, and fear appears only when they see they are not the center. You're not changing to burn someone, you're changing to take yourself back. And when you take yourself back, the other person starts burning automatically. I'll show you the silent signals that trigger jealousy without involving a third person. Signals that force the other person to compare themselves without you saying a word. People forget what they hear, but what they feel stays stuck inside. Jealousy is not created by words, it's created by signals, and the most dangerous signals are the ones that are never explained. The first silent signal, you stop sharing your emotional highs and lows. Earlier, you shared everything, every stress, every worry, every small happiness. Now you don't. You smile but don't explain why. You stay calm but don't explain the reason, and that silence fills their mind with questions, because humans fear what they don't have information about. The second signal, you stop seeking validation. Earlier you asked, "Do I look good? Did you like this?" Now you decide for yourself. And when someone starts deciding for themselves, the other person starts feeling smaller. Feeling small is the beginning of jealousy. Another scene. They cancel a plan. Earlier you felt disappointed. Now you just say, "Okay," no complaints, no questions. You change your plan. Their mind asks, how did they move on so easily?
That thought slowly becomes jealousy. The third signal, you become emotionally unpredictable. Not rude, not disrespectful, just not uniform. Sometimes playful, sometimes serious, sometimes silent. This randomness tires the mind, and a tired mind creates attachment. The fourth signal, you start celebrating small wins quietly. No show-off, no explanations. Calm happiness disturbs the most because it signals security, and a secure person is the biggest threat. The fifth signal, you exit comparison. If they mention someone else, you don't react with jealousy. You stay neutral. Jealous reactions show weakness. Neutral reactions show power, and power always creates jealousy. Here's a brutal truth. You don't feel jealous of someone you can't lose, but you fear losing someone who has options and stays calm. The sixth signal, you stop tying your mood to their approval. If they're happy, you're fine. If they're distant, you're still fine. This consistency creates insecurity because they realize they can't control your emotions. Losing control gives birth to jealousy. The seventh signal, you show boundaries softly. No lectures, no warnings, only actions. If something doesn't feel right, you remove yourself from the situation. Boundaries without noise deliver the loudest message. The core truth is this: you're not trying to make someone jealous, you're upgrading yourself mentally. Jealousy is just a side effect. When you grow, some people naturally become insecure, and insecurity is jealousy. In part 2, I'll show you the mistakes people make that destroy all attraction while trying to create jealousy. Mistakes that once made cannot be reversed, because now you know how jealousy is created. But it's even more important to understand how jealousy dies. Most people take 2 steps in the right direction and destroy everything on the third. The biggest mistake? Overacting. You create a little distance. They notice. You think the game has started. Then you become excessively cold. You delay replies on purpose. You fake being busy. That's where attraction starts falling, because jealousy is subtle. It cannot be forced. The moment effort becomes visible, the magic dies. Second mistake, constantly mentioning a third person. People think this increases jealousy. It doesn't. It shows insecurity. If you truly have options, you don't need to talk about them. Silence is the biggest flex.
Third mistake, expecting reactions. You change something and start scanning their response. Did they notice? Did they react? The moment you expect a reaction, you drop mentally. Jealousy works when they chase, not when you observe. Fourth mistake, giving explanations. Late replies followed by excuses. Busy at work, phone on silent, meeting. Explanations signal low value. A high value person doesn't justify, they exist. Fifth mistake, showing mood swings. Happy today, angry tomorrow, needy the next day. That's not mystery, that's instability. And instability creates distance, not attraction. Sixth mistake, sudden disrespect. Short replies, dry tone, loss of respect. Once respect drops, the game ends. Jealousy stands on respect, not rudeness. Here's the deep realization. Jealousy is not a control game. It's a reflection of self-worth. If your self-worth is shaky, your jealousy tactics become toxic. And toxic things may get attention, but never real attraction. Imagine this scene. You're calm, composed, respectful. Your life is moving forward. They see it, and something stirs inside them. But if you're using tricks for attention, they feel it. Intuition is sharp. The most important rule: jealousy should never be the goal. Self-elevation should be the goal. Jealousy will follow naturally. When you put yourself at the center, when your happiness is independent, when your identity is bigger than the relationship. And if you're still thinking, how do I make them jealous? You're still looking outside. Real power comes from looking inward.